How's it going, folks? I'm Matthew. This is Lemora's Cards, and today we're talking about some official Modern Horizons 3 spoilers. Wizards of the Coast has dropped some of the card images for some of the cards that had previously been leaked, as well as some cards we haven't seen yet, at least I hadn't seen, and we're going to be talking about them today. We've got confirmation of a few of the leaks we looked at before, new ones we hadn't seen before, including some nice utility lands, stacks piece, and a crazy new combo engine that I definitely expect is going to see us some play. But before we get into it, I want to give you a real quick thanks to all my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. Helps me make videos like this all the time. You get access to cool perks over there like patron Discord, coaching, private deck videos, getting your deck feature on the channel. Link in the description below on that. While you're down there, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know which of these cards is your favorite and what you're excited about seeing in Modern Horizons 3. With all that being said, folks, let's go ahead and hop into it. Use the link in the description below to download Whatnot, and you'll get $15 to use to buy Magic singles, sealed product, get anything that you want, really. There's no limits. You just get $15 on the account for free just for signing up. This is one of the best ways you can support the channel, and again, it's just free stuff. Use the link in the description below. Give Whatnot a try. First up, we got confirmation of Flare of Denial. Don't have a lot to talk about with this one because we did talk about it in the last video, but it is officially confirmed. Wanted to say blue decks, they now have access to a new counterspell. Mainly expect us to see that play in decks like Thrasios, other low color blue decks that have lots of creatures lying around, or have a blue commander they don't mind sacrificing every now and then. I expect this to be good. I don't expect decks like Timnacrom to want to sacrifice Crom as, you know, one of their only blue creatures to be able to cast this, which is something I kind of like to see. And I will say that after my last video came out, there was leaks of a supposed version of the red flare, which was Flare of Duplication, which was basically the same effect, except you copy target instant or sorcery spell. And if that's real, ROG decks just got so much better. That one did not get confirmed here. There was no very real looking image of it previously either, so I'm not sure. Don't get too hyped on it. But if that one is real, that one's going to see a ton of play and is probably the most powerful card in this cycle. Next up, we got Null Elemental Blast also getting confirmed. This isn't one I talked about previously because we didn't have a very good image of it, but we have it here. This is an instant for one colorless that lets you counter target multicolored spell or destroy target multicolored permanent. Mainly where I expect us to see any amount of play is in the very low color decks that are looking for any bit of interaction, because I think for the most part, this is just counter target commander or destroy target commander. There aren't actually a ton of multicolor spells that see play. There are some big impactful ones like Mnemonic Betrayal, things like that, but that's not really something you want to run a card like this for, especially considering most of those decks that are, you know, the kind of the lower color proactive ones, they're not really looking to stop that. They want something that counters a counterspell, and this really doesn't hit many of those at all. I do expect this to show up a little bit, especially in like a new colorless deck we might get, or even Liberator, you know, previous colorless decks we've seen. It's a card to think about. It's something to consider in your low color decks, especially if you have like a lot of utility lands and the colorless cost doesn't really, you know, hurt you too much. But for the most part, I don't expect us to see a ton of play, but it is a new option. Welcome to TopDeck.gg, your community's home for everything competitive Magic has to offer. Whether you're hosting an event, playing for a huge prize, or trying to advertise your store to thousands of players, we've got you covered. Using intuitive pairing software, playing Magic is a breeze. All your players have to do is sign up online, then scan the QR code in store. Give your competitors the gift of perfect information as their bracket updates in real time. Then, when the match is decided, our self-reporting software saves you time and leaves paper match slips in the past. Leave the heavy lifting to us so your community can sit back, relax, and have a great day of playing Magic. Urza's Cave is a new land with the Urzas and Cave land types, always fun. Taps for a colorless, and you can spend 3, tap, sacrifice it, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Where I mainly expect this to be seen is in decks that are really trying to prioritize a specific land that they want access to. Some of the really dedicated Gaia's Cradle decks will run cards like this, especially again in like a mono green deck that doesn't get too hurt by running a couple utility lands that can't tap for green. If they're really focused on that, this is a pretty hard to interact with way to tutor up your Gaia's Cradle, put it into play. So I kind of expect us to see some play. I'm not quite sure about like the higher color decks, you know, like ROG Thras that really want access to Cradle, but 4 mana on a colorless land in a 3-color deck, that's a little bit tough. And if there are new, you know, really powerful utility lands printed in Modern Horizons 3, or of course in future sets, this is a card you can always come back to and think about, you know, especially the more of those kind of lands you have and the more utility stuff you might want to be able to search for, better this is as an option. Next up, we have a new stacks piece in the form of Winter Moon, bit of a callback to Winter Orb and Blood Moon with really awesome looking art. It looks insane. For 2 mana, you get an artifact with players can't untap more than 1 non-basic land during their untap steps. Again, this seems like a really nice option for stacksier monocolor or low color decks. Any deck that doesn't have an incredibly greedy mana base base, this is a cool option. Winter Orb has been a thing you can use. It mainly shows up in decks like Urza because they can turn it off or, you know, power out a ton of artifact mana. But this is an actual land hating card that a deck that cares about land based mana can actually use. Like if you're ramping with lands, but they're basics, this doesn't hurt you at all. So it is a really interesting option that side skirts some of the other ones. And I feel like won't king make as hard because it's not shutting down entire colors, you know, compared to like Blood Moon or the blue Blood Moon effect we looked at last week. And instead kind of just forces players to play responsibly if you're staxing them out. I think this is a really interesting option. I don't expect to see it in every deck, but it is a new option that I do think is different enough to where it will see play in some decks that wanted an effect like this, but didn't quite exactly have something to do like it. And next up, probably the most exciting card we're going to be talking about today. It is, I think pronounced this way, Chthonian Nightmare. That's how I'm going to say it. It's like Cthulhu, right? Chthonian Nightmare, 1 and a black enchantment that when it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy counters and allows you to pay X energy counters, sacrifice a creature, return Chthonian Nightmare to its owner's hand, return target creature card with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. This is a callback to a card you may or may not know, and that is Recurring Nightmare, which has been banned in Commander for quite some time, and in Legacy as well. Notably, what that card and this card allow you to do is to continually cycle between 2 different creatures, putting them into play, sacrificing one, putting the other one back into play, and repeat. This one works a little bit differently. It's a little bit easier to interact with because of that ETB ability. That is a trigger on the stack that people can respond to. Previously, Recurring Nightmare was basically like unstoppable with disenchant effects. This you will be able to interact with more easily, but it's also cheaper, and for the main creature that a lot of people are going to be wanting to loop, it's just as good as Recurring Nightmare because it works perfectly fine with Dockside Extortionist. With this and like any mana dork, cast Chthonian Nightmare for 2 mana, get your 3 energy counters, sacrifice your mana dork, return Dockside Extortionist to play, put the nightmare back in your hand, make treasures, recast the nightmare, and then repeat with the mana dork. So you're spending 4 mana for that process, so you need to be making 5 mana to go positive. If you have an effect like Mayhem Devil in play, you can just go neutral and kill everybody. If you're doing it with like Rogue Rack or some other 0 mana thing or some other mana neutral thing, you can also do that. If you have Corvold in play, you only need to go mana neutral and you're going to draw your entire deck very quickly. This looks like a slam dunk in decks that want access to this, right? It's a new way to generate infinite mana. The Black Thrasios decks can use this, you know, decks like Thrasios Vial Smasher, obviously Corvold, like mentioned. Corvold would absolutely run Recurring Nightmare. They're going to run this. Some of the Dargo decks are probably going to be thinking about this as well. This is a powerful new version of a card that is banned, so it's definitely something to think about. You can also go mana neutral with something like Dockside and Orcish Bowmasters and just ping everybody to death. This is going to be a card that sees play in cEDH. Get your wins in before they ban it. I don't know if they will, but you know, like I said, it's based on a banned card. It's pretty dang good. I don't expect it to actually be very oppressive, but this is going to be awesome. This is cool. I'm really happy to see Corvold getting a new card, and you know, potentially other decks also opting to use this as well. So let me know down below what you think of these new reveals. I'm really excited to try Recurring Nightmare 2.0 in Corvold, well as getting confirmation on Flare of Denial. Really hoping to see if Flare of Duplication is real, but we'll see. I definitely think there's going to be a slowdown in terms of leaks and, you know, spoilers and stuff like that until we get to official spoiler season in later next month. But if stuff gets shown off, whatever, I'll be here. I'll show it off. Can't wait for this set. Super hyped for Modern Horizons 3. It's definitely changing the format, and we haven't seen that many cards and it's already looking crazy. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and as always, go play cEDH. Have a good one, everybody.